Welcome to our Amud Yom Shir, Maseches Shabbos Daf Nun Aleph, Amud Aleph. In the Mishnah, we are learning here about Hatmanah. This is the last Mishnah about Hatmanah. And the Mishnah is telling us, Hatmanah is about putting your cooked food in something, burying it, matmin, hiding it inside materials that would either keep it warm, your hot Shabbos food will either keep it warm or make it hot, will mamish cook it, one of the two. One is called moistif hevel, the one that adds heat, and eno moistif hevel is the one that maintains and keeps hot. And both of them are osur in different situations. Our Mishnah is telling us, if you did not cover your pot on Friday, don't cover it once it's dark, once it's Shabbos. Why is that? Because although this is Eino Moisef Evel, although the item that you want to bury your food inside something that is Eino Moisef Evel, for example, blankets. Yeah, you have hot cholent, and you wanted to bury it in blankets on Friday. On Friday, it's still okay, because a blanket, as warm as it is, as much as it's a bad heat conductor, and it keeps the heat, it doesn't cook it, it keeps it hot. Even that, you're only allowed to do on Friday. Once it's dark, you're not allowed to do it. That's what the Mishnah is telling us here. Why? Because once it's dark, usually when people want to keep something hot, what does it mean they want to keep something hot? They assume it is hot when it came into the Hatmanah, right? Very good. If you find that it's not hot, you may get so upset, so confused, that everything goes against your plans. You may come to heat it up on Shabbos, chas v'shalom, in order to bring it into the keep warm situation. And that is what we're scared of. So Chazal, they forbade it. Kisav v'nisgala mutar l'chasoisoi. If you covered it on Friday with something that is Eino Moisef Evel, which is fine to keep warm, v'nisgala, whoops, the blanket fell. He got uncovered. You're allowed to cover it again. Meaning, if when Shabbos came in, it was covered, then it was revealed, you're allowed to recover, not recover like from a disease, you're allowed to cover again on Friday night or Shabbos. There is no gzera there. And Tosfos points out another Rishonim that's allowed even lechatchila, even if you uncovered it and now you want to cover it again, even according to some with bigger and better blankets, it's okay as long as, even though Shabbos already came in. It's just not part of the gzera to continue the Hatmanah with a different Hatmanah. Continues the Mishnah, so this is a very interesting, fascinating topic over here. What about Hatmanah of something cold? You have cold water. The kitoin is like a jug of cold water. You want to place the cold water inside or under some kind of car or keses, under a pillow or a big pillow, more like a mattress, and that is okay. Why would you be matmin something that is cold? Evening. Why would you be matmin something that is cold? So basically, it's Maslokes Rishonim. I saw the Rashi, and I saw that they bring down the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch. I saw today, Baruch Hashem. Rashi says that the reason in Aleph Amud Aleph in the Mishnah, at the end of the Mishnah, Rashi says, basically the cold water, sometimes you want the cold water not to be affected by the sun, not to be hit by the sun rays. And you cover it with things that would avoid the sun ray from coming. Those things do not add heat. For example, things made out of felt. Yeah, you want dafka cover to avoid heat. And that is allowed. Well, obviously it's allowed. No, the chiddush is we're not goizer. One could say, and it's actually not so simple, don't cover something cold in order to maintain the cold, cover it from the sunlight, because maybe if you cover it to keep cold, tomorrow you're going to cover something matmin to keep hot. Maybe cold and hot, and you get confused. That's Rashi. Rambam says even more. Rashi, according to the Rambam, the chiddush is even bigger, and it's followed by Shulchan Aruch. What happens if you take cold water, and this cold water, you do want to warm it up a little bit. You want to put them in the blanket, so the very cold water, personally, I don't like very cold water usually, but very cold water makes you whatever, a bit, in the throat, like a bit fizzy, so then irritable. So you want to take away the edge of the cold. You put it in something warm, not to warm it up, just to take the cold away, right? From the freezer, from the fridge. That is, yes, warming up, but the level of warming up is so small, and the chiddush is that's allowed, and we're not goizer on that tiny warming up to real warming up or maintaining real heat. We're not goizer on the cold water from the fridge that I put them in blankets in order to take away the cold. That is okay, and we're not making it similar. We're not making some kind of analogy to something that is warm, by warm cholent, to keep it warm, which is not allowed to do on Shabbos. And there's no gzera. This is cold, this is hot. And that we're going to see now in the Gemara. The Rambam is a bigger chiddush, because according to the Rambam, you are trying to heat it up a little bit. Sure, according to Rashi, you're trying to just maintain the cold. The chiddush is, Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Rambam, that yes, you're allowed to take cold water from the freezer, from the fridge, and cover them with blankets to take away the cold. And that's not called Hatmanah. Okay. However, that's going to be a discussion. We're going to see in the Gemara now, Nun Aleph Amud Aleph. I have this ambition of finishing the parak today. As I said, we'll see if we manage. This is an Amoira, Rav Yehuda quoting Shmuel. One is allowed to be matmin the cold, like cold what? Not necessarily cold water, by the way. It says cold. Yeah, I can cover the cold cholent, cold apples, cold whatever. I can be matmin cold stuff, as we explained in the Mishnah, because sometimes you want to cover the cold to take away the heat or whatever, the cold or whatever. Amav Yosef, my kamash malon, what's the chiddush? You're in a moira. What are you mechadish? Tnina, it's first in the Mishnah. It says in the Mishnah, Memala odom kiton, a person is allowed to fill up a kiton, a jug of cold water, and he could put it under the pillow or under the big pillow, like the mattress. So what's the chiddush? The Mishnah told me something. In a moira, Rav Yehuda is a second generation Amoira. Why is he saying that? Amar le Abaye, Tuva Kamash Malan. Abaye says, oh yeah, he's mechadish, great deal. Yeah, Rav Yehuda is telling us big news over here. Why? Dimi Masnisin, if you only read the Mishnah, Hava Mina Hani Milu Dover She'en Darko Lehatmin. I gave you a hint to the answer. The Mishnah talks about something which normally people are not matmin, i.e. water. Water is something you're not matmin, meaning you'll never be matmin it to really make it hot. In other words, water, if they are in the blanket, right, they will never, anything in the blanket will really get hot, right? It will warm up and keep warm. It doesn't really cook. We're talking about Ein Moisef Hevel. The whole business is Ein Moisef Hevel. That's clear from the beginning of the Mishnah. Water, to take water and just, which is cold, yeah, your idea is never to try and make them warmer, even a little bit, because water that's warm is not nice. It's either cold or room temperature, or maybe very hot for the tea. Nobody takes cold water and really puts them in order to heat, maintain heat. It's not the way. Or even if water is lukewarm, you want to maintain the heat. It's not done by water. It's not the normal thing, right? And therefore, one would say, shkoyach, by water, which water I never come to be matmin in order to be mechamem, right? To make it hot. The mimela, the water, when I want to make the water from very cold into a little bit cold to take away the chill is okay, because water, even in its worst form, I never come to maintain the heat. Let's have lukewarm water. I don't want to keep the heat like that. It's not the normal way. For whichever reason, it's not normal to take water that is halfway there and maintain whichever heat I have. It's not done by water. For whichever reason, yeah? Mimele there, it's allowed. One would say as follows. When you talk about food, solid food, yeah, says Rashi, kigoin tavshil, maybe the tavshil, you should really beware, you should not be matmin the tavshil. Why? Because tavshil, it is normal. Let's take the tavshil. Let's imagine it as I was preparing for the shir. I haven't seen much in the Rishonim. When you have, let's say, a cholent that is just about warm, yeah, just about warm, yeah, such a cholent, of course, darko lahatmin. I want to keep the warmth as much as possible. It's very kubal, very accepted to be matmin the cholent, right? One would claim, wait, if I have cold cholent and I want to take away the cold, according to Rambam, don't do that, because warm cholent, you really want to keep the heat. So maybe then I should be goizer. Or according to Rashi, this is Rambam. According to Rashi, let's say I have something cold. I have cold, not cold, disgusting. I have cold apples, cold food, whatever, cold tavshil, and I want to take away, and I definitely want to maintain the chill so the sun doesn't heat it. Chicken. Here's a good one. Oh, yeah. You have cooked chicken. You have cooked chicken, and you're in a camping situation, or the mazgan is off, and it's under the sun rays in the kitchen, near the window, let's say. You have that chicken that's cooked already. According to Rashi, I want to cover it to protect it from the sun rays. That I'm allowed to do. That's a bigger chiddush. Why? Because the very same chicken, right, which is less just about warm, of course, I would have in a different setting in the winter. I would dafka want to do what? Dafka want to maintain the heat, which however warm it is, I want to keep it warm because it's tavshil. So maybe don't protect it from the sun, atu, lest another time you may come to the very same chicken, the same temperature. Here, I don't want it to get too hot. Oh, it's going to get destroyed, ruined, fich. So there, maybe don't protect it from the sun with covering, because the same covering in a different setting, I would have to do to maintain the warmth. Have Amina to say, don't be goes the one atu the other. Kamashmalan. On that says Ovido Mashmal, no, even that which is the same temperature, same food, I may come to do Hatmanah X to Hatmanah Y, and Hatmanah Y is also because I'm coming to Mishamer to maintain the heat. Kamashal will not go there. Any Hatmanah of something cold which you want to keep cold, or according to the Rambam, take away a little bit of the cold, it's okay. Even if that kind of food is otherwise normally mutman. That's a chiddush. Meshake and the Mishnah only spoke about water. And water which is not very hot, it's not accepted to be matmin. You don't gain anything. Omar Vuna Omar Rav, or according to another girsa, Omar Vuna Omar Rebbe. Makes more sense, by the way, the other girsa. Omar Vuna Omar Rebbe. Ravuna is quoting Rebbe to be saying, also latmin esatzoinen. Oh, very nice, everything we said. Rebbe says otherwise. Don't be matmin the tzoinen for whichever reason. If you matmin cold food or even cold water, eventually, even if that is of itself is okay, because they're not expecting it to be hot. If you want it to be cold or a little bit not very cold, so then it's okay. But no, don't do that. Matmin tzoinen. Next Shabbos you'll be matmin the chamin, the bed at mono. We are goizer. Okay, listen, gzeres are flexible. You can go one way or the other. And Rebbe was machmir and said, no, don't be matmin tzoinen, lest you come to be matmin the chamin. Frek the Gemara, Vatanya, where the brisa, here we have a brisa that contradicts that. It says in the brisa, Rebbe hitir latmin tzoinen. Rebbe allowed hatmanas tzoinen. How do you reconcile that? Answers the Gemara, there's a story behind it. Rebbe changed his mind. Rebbe had Torah academic honesty to say, I was wrong. Listen to this. Lo kasha. Mikami did not lishme. The real gear says the sham'e. This is before Mikame. Before one statement he made. One of the statements was made. Mikame di l'shamim b'Shmuel bar Yosi. Before you heard the psak of Shmuel bar Yosi, coming up soon. Soon we'll see what that means. The other statement, Labasar di l'shamei, from Rabbi Shmuel bar Yosi. The other statement is after he changed his mind, after you heard the psak from Rabbi Shmuel bar Yosi. Says the Gemara, what's the story? Which psak did he hear? Why did he change his mind? Yad Yosef Rebbe. Rebbe was one sitting down, learning, teaching. And he was teaching and saying, V'omar also latmin esatzoinen. Rebbe's original opinion originally was you're not allowed to be matmin even cold water, cold stuff, lest you come to matmin hot. Amar lefon of Rabbi Shmuel bar Yosi. Rabbi Shmuel bar Yosi sat in front of him and told him, sorry, Abba, my father, Rabbi Yosi, hitir latmin esatzoinen. He allowed, he paskined already as a psak halacha. He allowed everybody to be matmin tzoinen and was not concerned. Omar, Rebbe responded by saying, Kvar hoyro zoken. You see that kvar hoyro zoken. The zoken, the chacham already gave hora. I cannot change the psak of an earlier person, Rabbi Yosi. And he calls him zoken. To call somebody zoken is a very choshev thing. Zoken doesn't mean old necessarily, it means Zekon Chochma, Talmid Chocham, he's Zoken, he's God Elador, he's old and wise, he's Choshev. I'm not messing up with his psak. So Rebbe changed his mind once he heard the psak of Rabbi Yosi, which already was nifter, as mentioned by his son Rabbi Shmuel. Now, what's the beautiful thing over here? The Musar that we're learning, Omar of Pope. Now it's a bit of a Musar over here. Look how they liked each other. Look how the Tanoim liked each other so much. Why? Shilo Rabbi Yossi Kayam, when Rabbi Yossi was still alive, yeah, Rabbi Yossi and Rebbe, they coexisted, they lived together. Now, when Rabbi Yossi was alive, Hoyokofov Yoshev Lifnei Rebbe. Even Rabbi Yossi himself, just like Rabbi Shmuel over here, would be sitting bent down, stooped, and basically submissive in front of Rebbe. What's the chiddush over here? Because let's just continue. I'll stop here. It says Rashi, not so clear, but Rashi is saying that in Tosfos says Rabbi Yossi was greater in wisdom than Rebbe. Although Rabbi Yossi was a bigger chacham than Rebbe, but because Rebbe was a nasi, he gave him the honor, the kavod of nisius. You deserve the kavod, you know, the dignity, the special treatment for a nasi. So he's like sitting in front of him like a talmid. He's like the chief rabbi, the official person. So he's like mevatel himself to him. And how do you know that? The Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. Now Rabbi Yossi, it doesn't say Rabbi Yossi actually did that. It says ilu. If he was alive, he would have sat in front of Rabbi. How do you know? The Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, the memale mokum avois of Hava. Bishmal Rabbi Yossi was Memalet Mokum Avoisad, which means not Stam he was instead of him, it means he was as great as his father. Bishmal Rabbi Yossi, no, you read this Adoros. Bishmal Rabbi Yossi was as great as Rabbi Yossi, and yet the Kofu for Yoshev Lifnei Rebbe. You see that he too, although he was greater than Rebbe, because he was as great as his father, so it means the whole family, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shmuel, were greater than Rebbe, and they would basically, be very submissive, subservient to Rebbe. And on the other hand, the Ka'omar Kvar Hoyrazoken, Rebbe on his side didn't let it, go to his head, as they say. Rebbe realized that Rabbi Yossi was greater than him, and he said, "Oh, if that's a psak, Kvar Hoyrazoken." So Rashi says Kvar Hoyrazoken. On that says Rashi, Gidloi v'nisoi olov, v'nisoi olov. He made him great, and he placed him upon him, made him greater than him. So I just saw now, I think it was a Marashah. I saw a few sources. I think it's a Marashah who says the fact that he accepted the psak doesn't mean anything great, because the psak halacha from previous generation, it's accepted not to change, especially dafka lakula. Interesting. If a chacham is mekel, another chacham can't just be machmir after him. But the fact he called him zoken, that was the extra beautiful thing. He didn't say, that's a psak. Okay, what can I do? No, he didn't go like, it was lachatchila zoken. Oh wow, accept the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. He was greater than me. And it was Megadlo Menasa, makes him choshuv, more choshuv than him, and accepted the psak with simcha. This is what we see, and that's a beautiful thing, the beautiful relationship between the Tanoim. So now I saw what happens, Lamaskono, so Rebbe changed his mind, following Rabbi Yossi, and Rebbe, as we know, is the author of the Mishnah. That's why in the Mishnah, Rebbe says that tzoinen is allowed. You're allowed to be matmin tzoinen. Now let's see that there may be some kind of a caveat over here. Amel Rav Nachman, from the following story. Amel Rav Nachman Daru Avde. Rav Nachman asked his slave, his servant called Daru. Daru was Rav Nachman's servant. Rav Nachman, the rich man, he had a slave called Daru, and he asked him, Atmin Litzoinen. He told him two things which were culinary and halachic. Be matmin, cold water or cold whatever on Shabbos. It's Shabbos now. Take this thing out of the fridge. And put it under the hot thing I'm saying, according to Rashi, to maintain the cold, according to the Rambam, to take away the edge of the cold. Hatmanah stoinen. He's following what the Mishnah said. The Aisi Limaya, the Achim Kfeil Armo. Now, regardless of Shabbos, he said, bring me hot water that was heated by Kfila Armo. Kfila Armo is the term, a very famous term in Yeridea. It's a goy shekuk. Yeah, bring me water that was heated in modern English. Actually, the Rambam also says, water is never cooked, water is heated. That's actually true. Yeah? Bring me water that Chun Chan Chun, the guy, whatever, Tim McKenzie, he heated it for me, bring it to me. So now that's an issue of what? Shalakum. How do you know that the guy can make you tea or coffee or heat water? Shalakum, because in Shabbos, you're not allowed to cook water, heat water. Maybe if the guy does it, that's not allowed. So let's see. Shama Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami heard those two halachos of Hatmanah on Shabbos of Tzoinen and a guy heating up the water. And Rabbi Ami heard that, Ikpad. He was makpid. He was, he took an umbrage. He was particular and like upset about it. What are these kulas going on over here by Rav Nachman? Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef is responding to Rabbi Ami being upset. My time ikbad. Why are you upset with him? Why are you upset with Rav Nachman? Rav Nachman is following the opinions of his own Rabbanim. Rav Nachman has every right to follow the Psak Halacha of his Rabbanim. Who are the Rabbanim? Chad Kirav, Chad Shmuel. Yeah, we saw just now in Kiddushin, actually, in the other Hamud Yaimi, some people follow both, yeah, that Rav and Shmuel were the Rabbanim of Rav Nachman and Rav Yudah. Yeah. So basically, Rav and Shmuel, the first generation of Amoraim, they taught Rav Yudah and Rav Nachman. So now, what do you want from him? Rav Nachman follows the psak of Rav Shmuel. What are the psak? Keshmuel. We know the psak of Shmuel. The Omar Rav Yudah, Omar Shmuel, mutalat min esatzainen. Look, Shmuel, who is a Rav of Rav Yudah and Rav Nachman, said you're allowed to be mat min tzainen. And Rav Nachman is not doing anything wrong by following his own Rav. You think you're not allowed to be mat min tzainen? Fine. In your own home, don't be mat min tzainen. But what do you want from him? He's following his rabbi. Kerav, regarding the other sugya of Bishulakum, then Rav Nachman is following Rav, Domar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, Omar Rav. Kol shu nechel kmot shu chai, en bo mishum b'shulei nochrim. Oh, we know the halacha. People living in Chutz La'aretz usually more aware of these halachas, and that is when you have food that can be eaten raw, uncooked, right? There's no bishulakum. That's a rule. Yeah, baked apples, baked potatoes may be a problem. Now going to the other question of Shulchan Malachim, it's a different sugya, harder to understand. But when you have an item, liquid or solid, that can be eaten raw, and normally eaten raw, then you're allowed to have a guy cooking it for you. Last time I checked, many times you drink water not cooked, right? So therefore, what do you want from his life? He's basically what? Following the psak of Rav, that bishul akum is okay. It's not even issue of bishul akum because it's meant to be drank cold, raw. Answers the Gemara. So why was he upset really? So obviously Rabbi Ami, the Eli Rabbi Ami has a reason. Who saw that? Rabbi Ami saw that Adam Choshuv Shiny. Ooh, big halacha and big musar. Adam Choshuv Shiny. Because Rav Nachman was a very important person. Rav Nachman was the Choshuv Mensch. Rav Nachman was the son-in-law of Reish Galusa. Yeah, it was the Chassan of the Bein Nesiah. He was a very famous person and Adam Choshuv. He's different. He wasn't different. But Adam Choshuv that people learn example from, he's setting an example for others. He has to be extra machmir in halacha, so people don't learn from him to be more mekel. If the Adam Choshuv just keeps halacha to the bare minimum, then people who learn from him will do even less than him. Because people tend to say, oh, that guy is so charedi, so frum. If he does this, I'll do this. I'm a bit less. So Adam Choshuv should never be, in an overdraft, should always be, on the plus, right? Always be more machmir, so people learn from you minus, they will get to the zero. They'll be just about okay. Halacha l'maisa, so the Mishnah Berurah, the Mishnah Berurah says that really even an Adam Choshuv is allowed to be matmin tzoinen. Even if you're an Adam Choshuv, then you're allowed to be matmin tzoinen. Don't be concerned that your not so frum cousin would learn from you, but it's a machlokas. Afterwards, it's a machlokas achronim. Machlokas achronim, some people say an Adam Choshuv should not be matmin tzoinen. Mishnah Berurah is meichel. I don't think we have to be more often than that, but ask a local Orthodox rabbi. I'm an Adam Choshuv, am I allowed to be matmin tzoinen? Okay, interesting. And I assume the same goes for the water bishulakum. As far as I know, people are meichel and bishulakum if it can be eaten raw. Maybe Adam Choshuv is different. I don't know. I'm not Choshuv. I don't have the shayla. Don't know. Now, more halachas regarding the Hatmanah. So now we're going to see all kinds of kulas regarding Hatmanah on Shabbos. Let's again review. What did we say? A person is not allowed to be matmin on Shabbos, even in Eino Moisif Evel, right? Yeah. You don't take your pot of whatever, solid or liquid, off the fire on Shabbos. It's on the fire, kosher fire. I was kosher fire on Shabbos. Gufa, ktuma, blech, electricity covered, all good. And on Shabbos, don't take it off and cover it with blanket, which is Eino Moisif Evel. That's not allowed. Kosher can Moisif Evel. That's not even before, yeah. Eino Moisif Evel, because you may come to see there may be a glitch in the system. Maybe it's cold. Somebody didn't turn on the fire. It happened to us in yeshiva once. Somebody forgot to turn on the plata, b'chlal, whatever, whole story. Later, so then there may be a mess. You may come to be quickly cook it now on Shabbos, chas v'shalom. So don't be matmin even in a keep warm kind of mode, because maybe it's not warm. So don't mess up with it. However, Tono Abonon comes the brisa with a bunch of kulas. I just told you now. You're not allowed to be matmin even in something that doesn't add heat. Hevel mishachashecha. Once dark, you cannot even put it matmin in a keep warm mode kind of thing. However, in bale hoisif moisif, meaning you're allowed to add more blankets. Let's talk about blankets because it's just the most normal thing. Actually, the Gemara also talks about blankets. Let's have one blanket that covers the pot. I want to add another one. I had it from Friday. I'm kosher. I took it off the fire on Friday. To cover a blanket on the fire is also completely because it's moisif hevel. We spoke about it at the beginning of the parak. You can't have the heat coming up from the actual blech, which today is very hot in today's modern kitchen, plus covered on all sides. Mamish also, people should know that. Don't do that. Even partially covered, ask your rabbi. I'm telling you. Now, but if you take it off the fire, good, cover it from all sides with a blanket, which is a bad heat conductor, Givaldi. That's okay on Friday. Come Shabbos and I say, I want to add an extra layer, that's okay. If Hatmanah was done before, I can add and intensify the existing Hatmanah by adding more, that's okay. Okay? Ketzad, how is that? Ketzad oise, how would he do that? Rab Shimon Gamliel says, Noitel es asdinin umaniach es aglufkarin. Rab Shimon Gamliel actually, as Tosfos says, not explaining Tanakama, he's adding on Tanakama. And he says he can even strip the existing Hatmanah and change into another Hatmanah. Let's see what the words are. Noitel es asdinin. What's sadin in Hebrew? Sheet. You can sheet, then and now is thin. Let's say you had it covered with sheets. You can take off the sheets and put glufkarin, which are coats, which are comforters, duvets. Wow. So you can take off Hatmanah, which was not so hot, take it away, and bring a new Hatmanah warmer and thicker. Even that you're allowed to do. Now, Tosfos says you shouldn't say Ketzad oise. Tosfos claims that the Gilsa is wrong. It's not the Rashbag is explaining Tanakama. He's adding an additional kula Tanakama. Tanakama said if it's already covered, keep the cover and add another layer. You look moisif an existing. Rashbag says no, I'm adding even more. You can take away the existing Hatmanah and on Shabbos bring in recover with a new, stronger, bigger, and thicker Hatmanah, and that's still okay. Because as long as some Hatmanah was there, you're allowed to make it stronger, even if in between there was the pot was like naked. Chiddush, but that's as far as I know, that's how we pass on like Rashbag. So now, and another thing, you're also allowed to take the warm ones, the thick comforters, the thick coats of wool. Take them away, and cover it with the thin ones. That's not a chiddush. That the Rishonim says, agav urche. Yeah, there's no chiddush, of course. He just finished off making, stating it, but it's not a chiddush. Second one. The chen Rashbag oimer. What's the chen? Rashbag is adding more kulas. Rashbag, who's the chatchila was meikol, is going to add another kula, and he says as follows: Lo osu ela oisay meicham, which means, let's say on Shabbos you have meicham, which on Friday that's where you cooked your water. Mecham is usually water, or cholent pot. There, you have some kind of pot. Take it off the fire on Shabbos and cover it with blankets. What do you say on Shabbos? Chas v'shalom, not allowed. That's not allowed. Aval, you know what is allowed? Pina mimecham lemecham mutar. Oh, let's say you took your cholent on Friday night. Yeah, okay, middle of the meal. Shabbos is here already, 2 hours ago. And now you're taking the cholent, moving it, transferring the cholent from the original pot to another pot, cold one. You took it out of the cupboard. And that new pot, you're allowed to cover and be matmin. Why? That's very logical. Says Rashbag, Hashta, listen to the logic. Now, Akuri kamakirla, Arduchi kamartachla. Yeah, now we all know, as we learned in Tosfos' Daf Memamud Beis, and as we see in reality, the pot that's been on the fire, the Ganze Friday, is very hot. When you transfer from one pot, the original hot one, into a new pot, a cold one, now obviously your direction, your trend over here is akuri kamukir. You're interested in cooling down, chilling chilling the cholent. I know when I drink something too hot and I want it to be a bit colder, I move it to another cup and it gets colder much quicker. I learned the trick from Tosfos. So if your whole idea, your direction is what? To make it colder, rhetorically, are we really concerned you're going to make it hotter? Avada not. What's the chash again? Are you going to heat it up? Very nice. I kept explaining to you what's the reason that Ein Mosef Evel is also on Shabbos. I expect it to be hot. I have all planned. When people are too well planned, that's where everything goes wrong. Trust on Hashem. Trust Hashem. Yeah. In other words, you say, no problem. It's very, very hot. It's on my super duper amazing new made in France. And what? It's very, very hot. Friday night, plan A, plan B, plan C. I'm going to take it off the fire. It'll be super hot. Cover it nicely. It will be amazing. You take it off the fire and your wife forgot to turn it on. Or I don't know, something happened. You will be so upset. It's against your plans of keeping it hot, super hot. You're going to quickly heat it up now. I mean, Chalal Shabbos. Here, there's no such chash. Because the guy is coming to do what? He's coming to reduce the heat. If he's coming to reduce the heat, he's not going to come to so nervously heat it up and cook it. Because here's direction is the other way around. It's a chiddush, but it makes sense, obviously. Because in such a case of moving from the hot pot to the cold pot, I'm not making it super cold, but in general, the direction is a bit less hot. No chashash of me cooking something that wasn't yet cooked. No problem with tomorrow. Now let's continue, and here we have a very difficult Rashi. I mean, it's easy to understand, but he's saying something older Rishonim are very upset with Rashi. Let's see now how we deal with that. So we are back to the very, very a love story between Hatmanah and Muktzah. Because what happens many times, right? You matmin. If you matmin and you cover your pot with something that's Ein Mosef Evel on Friday, good boy, Ein Mosef Evel, Friday, nice. If that Hatmanah is done with something that's not Muktzah, you're very nice, Mesudar, American guy. In your drawer, you have what? A special Muchin that were designated clearly for Hatmanah. Beautiful, perfect Jewish home. Amazing. But what happens when you don't have those special Hatmanah items? You have something that's Muktzah. For example, you take pieces of wool, which you keep for sewing, for weaving. Oh, that's Muktzah. Even according to Reb Shimon, what happens then? You're stuck. Because even if you're allowed to be matmin in them, let's assume you can, there's an issue of Muktzah. How do you actually get to the pot? If it's covered with Muktzah from all sides, what do you like these kids games, find the treasure. How do you get there? So let's see what the Gemara says about that. Says the Brisa. Toman vekisa. Here we divide the Hatmanah into two compartments, two sections. Hatmanah of the sides of the pot and the bottom, obviously, and a kisui, the top, the cover. Okay. The top. Sometimes, by the way, Rashi says there's a double lid. There's a lid stam, the lid of the pot. There's an extra lid on top of that in order to keep it warm on the upstairs on top of the pot. Toman vekisa. He covered on all sides. Penny covered on top. The dover hanital b'Shabbos. In both sides and top, you cover it with something that you're allowed to carry on Shabbos. For example, hides. Yeah, nital b'Shabbos, you're balabos, you're not a craftsman, you have pieces of hide, no problem. Life is good. Oy toman b'dover she'enu nital b'Shabbos. Let's say from all sides, it's covered on the sides, it's buried on the sides with something which is muktzeh. But there is hope. The kisa b'dover hanital b'Shabbos. Oh, you covered it with something that may be taken off on Shabbos. Hides, another extra lid. No problem. You're allowed to take away the pot out of the Hatmanah and put it back in. I assume that's Rabbanon, right? Yeah, you're allowed to be rematmin on Shabbos. Rashi mentioned, if you saw the Gemara in the weekend, that the only problem of burying, according to Rashi, is touching muktzeh. As long as the guma, as long as the hole stays intact, the fact that I'm rematmin, according to Rashi and the pshat of the Gemara, is not a problem. So what about muktzeh? So what? What's a muktzeh? The top I uncovered. The lid is the top Hatmanah area is not muktzeh. Good. I take it out, take away the pot, serving the amazing cholent, put it back in. I'm rematmin on Shabbos. That's fine. Life is good. Of course, the problem starts the other way around. Taman vekisa b'davar she'enu nital b'Shabbos. Oops. You covered it on all sides, both sides, and kisui, the top, with something that cannot be taken on Shabbos, whatever, gizei tzemel. Or on all sides, You matminu something that is okay. On the sides, it's nital. It can be taken away on Shabbos. The kisa b'dover she'enu nital b'Shabbos. But the top is what's bothering us. It's something that cannot be taken on Shabbos. The top part, you usually reach the pot from the top. Otherwise, it's all buried. You want to get it from the top is covered with gizei tzemer, complete muktzeh. What do? Im hoyo megula miktsasoi. The only remedy, the only way is what? If the top, the lid of the pot was partially uncovered, noitelu machzir, then no problem. You find that exposed spot, catch it there, take away the lid, okay? Take away the lid and remove min hatzad, what's the names? All the fluff, whatever is on top, which is muktzeh, you like without touching it, you're allowed to do tiltul min hatzad. Up to Sirashi inside soon. I'm just telling you about that. And take the pot and put it back. Dim lav. If it's completely covered and there's nothing, there's not one spot you can reach it. It's not accessible. You can't take it away. Finished. Done. You can't. So now Rashi, you may ask what's the chiddush. Rashi says something over here, which is very, very problematic, and all the Rishonim are questioning Rashi big time. I would let's see Rashi inside. Okay, let's look at the last Rashi. Yeah, afilu toman b'dover nital v'kisa b'dover she'enu nital. Says Rashi, "Me'en miktzas pia megule lo yitoil de'en b'ma yachzena." Yeah, if you don't have a little bit of the top of the lid exposed, that's it. You can't take it. Stop. No cholent. Oops, sorry. Because it's covered in muktzah on all sides. The Toimer says Rashi, why is there another solution? Why can't you? Now, in the second case, if you remember, there are two cases that are problematic. One case, everything is muktzah on all sides, no hope. Finished. But let's say the top is covered with muktzah, but the sides are covered with non-muktzah. Oh, wait, they can be taken away, right? I'm allowed to move let's say, pieces of leather on all sides. Why don't you do that? Hold it on the sides. Hold it in its sides. I recommend you wear thick gloves. And you tilt it on the side, and then the lid will fall. What's the problem? And he says, we saw such a case before. We saw a case of you have a barrel of wine with a stone on top. You tilt the whole barrel. No problem. I'm not going to the details now. It's late. There are two cases. What's the problem? In other words, remove anything from the side. Tilt the what's his name? The cholent. It's going to drip a little bit maybe, and then the lid will just slide down, and life is good. Says Rashi something very schwer. Says, you know why over there the over there was good with a barrel with a stone on top? Because you forgot the stone on the barrel. Forgetting something doesn't make the surface bossis. Wow. In our case, says Rashi, when the top of the lid itself, because there are items on top of it that are muktzeh, the lid becomes a bossis of dover also. So you can't do anything with it. It's treif. And you can't now, yipol lakisui, you can't do that. I mean, maybe you can slide it, but sometimes you can't slide it. You have to pick it up. Says Rashi, if it's really exposed a little bit, you can tilt it, and that's okay. But in case, sometimes there are many other pots, other things in the area, if you really have to, if you just want to tilt away the fluffy thing, the Hatmanah, and take the lid, that you cannot do. The lid itself is muktzah because it's bossis. Shomu shamayim. If you remember what we learned a few days ago, Rashi Mamish contradicts himself. Because Rashi some time ago said in the Mishnah that when you have a lid and on top of the lid you have other muktzah stuff, it's not bossis because the lid is not the bossis for the Hatmanah, the other way around. The Hatmanah serves the lid, and here Rashi seems to contradict himself. Very schwer. All the Rishonim are screaming at Rashi, and they say, anyways, it does make sense. And they say, if there are other questions. So basically, the Ritva, the Tesis Rosh actually, so Ritva, Tesis Rosh, they all basically make all kinds of scenarios or other pictures, that it's so. I'll tell you what the Tosfos says. He says like this: there's a box. On all sides, you have non-muktzah, okay, but the top, yeah, the muktzah is covering the entire pot and also covers the non-muktzah, and you can't reach them. Maybe I should draw it for you. In other words, in order to allow myself to uncover the top, you first have to take the ones on the side, clean them away, and then pick up. So that would have been a good idea. But you can't do that because the side is also inaccessible. The side covers from all sides, all the radius of the pot is either on the sides, it's kept inside the box, and on top, the muktzah items are covering it all over. It's inaccessible, that's what's a problem. Otherwise, it would be no cases. Rashi is schwer. I don't have an answer. I'm sure the Achronim deal with it, but Katonti, I'm sorry I didn't get an answer for that. Let's just continue one more line in Aleph Amud Beis, and then we'll go home. Remember, we saw that a few days ago. Rabbi says that no shel pishtan, if when you have like the sawdust version of pishtan, the small pieces of pishtan, the flax dust, you have small pieces that fall off the flax when you comb it. And we said before, you're allowed to be matmin in that. Rabbi says if it's dark and very tiny and small, then it covers the entire pot. It's like zevel, which means it's also, it's moisif hevel. It's moisif hevel. It mamish heats the thing up, and you're not allowed to be matmin, even mi be'oidioim. So we didn't finish the parak, no worry. I mean, I'm prepared till the end, but it's also late. So let's, tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, finish the parak, Mitzvah Hashem, and also start the new parak, B'meh Behema. Tell all your friends we're starting B'meh Behema. And it's all about Hoitzah on Shabbos. What can you wear, what you cannot wear, what your animal can wear on Shabbos, what you cannot wear on Shabbos, yes? At the end of the parak, we have very interesting gemara about the sins of David HaMelech, the sins of people from the Torah, a lot of Ashkofa, Jewish knowledge and philosophy. Okay, Hatzlacha Uvracha. Thank you to people who watch us on YouTube. Thank you for your good feedback, by the way. And thank you to all of us on Zoom, 3 people on Zoom. Thank you for coming. Okay, thank you, Tzvi. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Hatzlacha Uvracha. I appreciate it. Kol Tuv, have a good Lad Ba'omer.